here we are, Matt Pointer, show number 5. We're back again, and this time we've got a lot to talk about. Westerly wheel race to begin with.
We've got a lot to talk about, mate, but the beautiful thing is we've had over 2,000 people have had a look at our show. Of course, the one person didn't like it. That's why we're coming to you from Gary's backyard. That person's now buried in your backyard. Don't dislike us. That's the rule, all right? But yes, mate, Westerly wheel race, what a weekend. We had some fantastic racing. We saw, I think, some of the best track racing we've had all year in Western Australia. We had the big man Nathan Graves from the Queensland University Club come to WA. He absolutely killed them in the sprint events. He went around 10.7 in the 200 on a very, very cold track, which is hard. He won the sprint rounds. He won the Kieran. He showed that he was the best sprinter in the men. No problem at all. The girl I backed last week, Tale Christie, she showed a clean pair of heels in the sprint events, no problem at all. This kid is only in the under 17 ranks, took on all the senior riders, all the under 19 riders, won the sprint event. We saw Isabella King show her class. She came back from Adelaide on good form after winning the Omnium there. She won all the B grade events against all the blokes as well, and then she came into the Kieran event and won the Kieran event. And then we saw the champion that we mentioned last week, Sam Welsford. What a great ride he did in the men's Westerly wheel race. Now, mate, you and I have been riding track for a very long time. It was a well-weighted backmarkers field in the Westerly, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, it was. To begin with, the heat looked to me to be a little bit disastrous, and they got off the mark very badly. Very poor cooperation, in fact, from the guys on the back mark. Sam Welsford got left with the task, and certainly fulfilled. He was very good in the heat, even better in the final. The young man really is a very complete cyclist. His sprint ability is beyond what I've seen in a long, long time. And also his endurance, and he's not frightened to have a crack. He's very, very Meyer-like in his approach, but he's a bigger boy. He's got some power to put with that.
The thing I liked about this one is because it wasn't a UCI categorised event, we were able to see Sam Welsford rock and roll around the track in the rainbow jersey. Not something we always get to see, not something the kids always get the chance to do. So it was nice that he put the skin suit on and showed the big crowd that was there what the rainbow colours look like.
Yeah, it must have been great for him to be able to do that. Yeah, it was like, look, the whole carnival went off very, very well. I was lucky enough to be there for a change in a spectator's role, and watching great racing is nothing better on the track. It's very exciting. A young lady took out the ladies' Westerly wheel race in very fine style as well, and I was particularly impressed. The lady looked very good. Bella King looked unbeatable. Pretty stiff handicap for her, and on this occasion,
she deserves a stiff handicap. She wins everything she lines up in. One of the rides of the day. There was 2 rides of the day for me. One of them was Zoe Clayton. And here's why it was one of the rides of the day. You'll be able to see it on YouTube. Track Cycling WA have got a beautiful channel. You'll be able to watch this vision on YouTube anytime you go to look for it. But Zoe Clayton, she was a middle marker. She wasn't a back marker, she was a middle marker. But the front markers looked like they had it sewn up with 2 laps to go. Zoe Clayton rode out of the bunch from the middle mark, down the back straight with a lap and a half to go, had to reel in the front markers, got them in the home straight with 1 to go, and rode away with the bike race. This is a kid who's just coming up nicely. One of those kids who sort of got left on the outer a little bit by what we call the system, didn't get the greatest opportunities. She's matured, she's starting to grow up, and she's really turning into a good little bike rider. The race of the meeting, though, go to the Track Cycling WA channel, have a look at all the races on there, because the young guns, Westerly wheel race. My goodness me. We saw Lamana Valentine, 8 years old, the biggest smile. The number on her back was bigger than her. The smile was bigger than her bike. This kid got out of the saddle. The crowd went berserk. She won it. She finished in front of Emma Smith. Emma Smith was no bigger than her. These 2 little kids absolutely stole the show. We didn't need to ride any other bike races that day. Well done, Lamana. Well done, Emma. And well done, Dahlia Haynes, who ran 3rd. She was the back marker, and she nearly got him. Just missed out, but that was good fun.
Certainly was, and I think congratulations go to Murray Hall and his track committee.
Well and truly.
A well-organised event, and in conjunction, with the Cyclo Sportif, with 700 people around the track as well as in the grandstand. It had the spectacle, it had the lot, it had VIP in the middle, and it was an awesome day all round.
A little bit cold inside there. You can still take a warm carton in there and have it cold by the time you finish the day.
Yep.
But it was great atmosphere, and we did have a great time.
Absolutely, including Laurie Norris. We talked about him last week.
The great
had an
Laurie
awesome
Norris.
time.
So that's the Westerly for 2014. Now, the major supporter of the Westerly wheel race is the Bicycling Western Australia movement. They run the Cyclo Sportif. That's where Gazza was, out at Herne Hill.
Tell you what, mate, it was freezing cold. I don't know how the riders felt out there. It was about 6 degrees, it felt a lot colder because the chill factor was enormous, but 700 riders lining up in teams of 9. It was a really colourful spectacle, and for me, it always continues, it gives you some excitement. It's different to track, it's not like you got your powerhouse sprinters, but everyone emotionally is having a good time. They're out there doing their thing. That's their Tour de France, and you know what? They are going pretty quick, I might add, while they're going around. When you've got so many on a course that's about 14 to 15 kilometres around, it's very, very congested. Reasonably, I wouldn't say dangerous, but it has its moments. But I tell you what, lots of fun for BWA, and the cyclosportif, that concept continues to grow, and they keep having fun. I like doing it.
Well, if it gets people on bikes, it's got to be a good thing. And if they're going to support racing cycling as well, the way they did on the weekend, well, let's see more of BWA.
Well, Matt, we promised to look after all aspects of cycling, and we've been doing a job of that with mountain biking last weekend in Albany. Give us an update on what's happening in the world of mountain biking.
Well, we had round 4 of the Australian Gravity Enduro Series here in Western Australia. Sam Hill was still in town, which is fantastic for the sport. They had over 180 competitors. They had, could do with a few more spectators out there. They had about 500 spectators out there. Mountain biking, as far as we're concerned, needs to get as much coverage as track cycling and road racing. It's great to see that this round 4 of the Australian Series is happening here. We have NRS races for road cycling. We have the cream of track talent. Hopefully one day we'll get BMX on board and they'll be able to tell us a bit about what happens in theirs. But round 4, the Australian Gravity Enduro Series, been run and won, and great to see it here in Western Australia.
Well, this coming Saturday, Matt, the grand final for bike riding is here. We have the Tour de France. Everyone has been sleeping well. I hope you get prepared for it. It's not going to continue. You're going to be very, very tired shortly.
And I put an occupational health and safety message on my page on Facebook the other day saying get your sleep in this week because you're not going to have any sleep for the next 3 weeks. But I tell you what, the team selections are good this year. David Miller's missed out. Poor David. Who cares, Dave? You've had a great career. Check it at one point, but you've had a great career. One good thing for us, though, local boy, and we'll claim his local boy, Jack Bauer, has taken his spot. And why is he local? Because he goes out with Sarah Kent. Hi, Sarah. So that's good news. The Australian team, the Orica Greenwich team, Matt Goss is going to stay home by the sounds of things, but they are going to see Michael Matthews. What can Matthews do? It starts in the UK. What on earth are they doing in Britain? They haven't picked Bradley Wiggins, your greatest cyclist to ever throw his leg over a bike, and you disrespect him by not putting him in the Tour de France, Dave Brailsford. I hope Froome doesn't have a crash.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Sir Bradley, he's not the happiest man in town, and I think he's got a very good reason not to be happy. In the meantime, straight back to track training for him. He's put his head down.
He's going to go and ride the Commonwealth Games, isn't he?
And the Aussies are going to have a horrible time from him at the Commonwealth Games because he's going to be pumped and angry. We have moved away from Tour de France and back there again. The endurance boys have got a race of their own, haven't they? With Froome, a big threat. They're all just starting. Contador, red hot form. They're starting to come into it. Nibali, special training, the last minute stuff for him, and he looks like he set himself for one race only, not to be overlooked. I reckon he's someone to have a very careful eye on.
And of course, the Trek team. We got both Schlecks coming back this year. We got Cancellara there. You know, we haven't seen much of Frank and Andy, and like you never know with these two. They're such talents. You know, I was watching the documentary that they made the other night on YouTube. Andy Schleck is a superstar. There is no two ways about it. He's got a retrospective Tour de France to his name. He's finished on the podium of the Giro d'Italia. He is an absolute superstar bike rider. We just don't know what he could bring. He could bring the goods for this bike race, and he's got the team to back him.
I agree, and I think more so, people write him off because he doesn't have the power in the one-day type events. He's a sort of rider that can settle into a tour. You know, if he hits it, it's all about emotion with these two. They're very lightly built, but similar to Froome. If they find it, and it all goes right, now don't have crashes and so on, they could be guys to look out for. I'm really excited about the whole concept. The endurance boys are great. The sprinters, Matthews possible. Sagan will be all over it. Greipel has won more races than any other sprinter this year. And the big man, Kittel, goes faster than anyone else once the diesel's wound up. You know, if he's no hills.
That's exactly right. And the first 4 days, starting Great Britain, they're starting in Yorkshire. Cavendish has made it clear he wants to win that first stage. He reckons he's got a house about 150 metres from where the stage finishes. I watched the presentation of the Tour de France last year on TV, and Kittel They asked all the riders to come up to the big map of France, and they asked them, where's the stage you're going to win? And Kittel got to go first, and he circled stage number 1. You should have seen the look on Mark Cavendish's face when he realised Kittel had circled that one. So Cavendish went straight in, drew a picture of his family and said, no, that's my stage. There is going to be fireworks between Marcel Kittel and Mark Cavendish on that first stage.
Oh, absolutely. And look, we saw Kittel take it out on Greipel in the Tour Down Under, that first sprint. I'm watching with astonishment. I've been used to watching Greipel win every stage, whenever he wanted it, Tour Down Under. And he was pumped by him, I don't think the form's quite the same there at the moment, but one thing's for sure, fantastic sprint excitement, and there's probably 7 bike riders that are going to be all over that finish. I only hope they stay upright for at least 2 weeks so we get some good action.
Exactly right. Now the Tour de France, we're going to be here every week after the few days of the Tour de France. We're going to do a recap on it each week. Just in case you're worried about getting some sleep, the Commonwealth Games are on during July as well, so we're going to have a bit of feedback about the Com Games. Some good selections on the track. We've got Mel Hoskin riding the track and the road for WA, which is a great news. We'll talk more about the Commonwealth Games as the weeks roll on.
Fantastic to see. It's all coming our way. I can't wait for all of it.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of weeks ago I mentioned Levi Wibbly. Levi is a young bloke who is suffering from leukodystrophy. Now, we're trying to raise money all around town, trying to get some support to the family. This Sunday, July 6, we are having a ride for Levi to raise money to help send Levi to the United States to see if we can find a cure for the Krabbe disease that he's suffering. The ride starts at 6:30 in Armidale. You can go online to Levi's Ride and join the ride. We're looking to try and get 200 people to the ride. We're about halfway there. I really ask for your support to come and support the Wibbly family and support Levi's Ride. It's for a great cause. It's for a magnificent cause. This little bloke is absolutely dynamite. Please join me, Eddie Hollands, and a host of other riders on Levi's Ride on July 6 in Armidale. Mate, I have to thank you on a nicer, lighter note. Thank you for letting us use Casa, Del, Tracy and Gary here tonight. It's been absolutely lovely occasion. It's a bit dry though. Why is that?
Mate, I do have to apologise because I did mention Laurie Norris was staying with us, and sorry, back in Victoria, Laurie. I went to give the boys a beer. I could find an empty one on the balcony. Thanks, Mr. Norris. It's been an emotional visit.
Thanks, Laurie. Might see you later in the year. Might have a bit of a surprise announcement next week with 1 or 2 things that are happening in November. Cheers, folks.
Look forward to seeing you again next week, everyone.